At the family dinner, I asked my parents if they had paid for my surgery. They smiled and said, "We used the money for your brother's wedding. He needed $50,000 for the venue and reception." I set down my fork. "So, I guess you still don't know who needs this surgery." Their faces went pale immediately. "Who is the one who needs it?" "My name is Henry. I'm 32. I'm the oldest son and the quiet one. I work 24-hour shifts as a firefighter. I cook a mean chili, keep my gear in the same locker spot, and I still triple-check doors at night because routine calms me down." We were at my parents' house for Sunday dinner. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, too much salt. My brother Nate had his arm around his fiancée and a watch he wanted everyone to notice. I hadn't been home in months. I came because Mom texted, "Family night. Everyone." No emoji. That's her version of a subpoena. Dad poured wine and did the toast. To good news. Nate's fiancée giggled. And to big plans. Mom looked at me. "So, Henry, how's work?" "Any fires?" She said it like I was a magician doing party tricks. "Busy," I said. "We pulled a kid out of a garage last week." I kept it short. I never bring the job to the table. People say they want the stories until they hear the smell in them. I tapped my water glass. I had a question. "Did you get the invoice for my surgery?" "My knee. The one I blew out on a stairwell 3 months ago when a second-floor landing gave way, and I took the fall so the rookie behind me wouldn't. The department covers a lot, but a specialist did the graft, and there was a gap. I sent the invoice to my parents months ago after Mom insisted. Of course we'll help. Family helps." It was 5 figures I didn't have without nuking my savings and my backup savings. Dad smiled. Mom smiled too. That specific, practiced smile. "We used the money for Nate's wedding," she said. "He needed $50,000 for the venue and reception." I set down my fork. "So, I guess you still don't know who needs this surgery." The room air shifted. The AC kicked on and went off again. My mother's eyes twitched. Nate's fiancée stopped smiling. Dad cleared his throat. "Wait," he said. "Who is the one who needs it?" "I am," I said. "The one limping." Knives paused on plates. My aunt, who had just speared a carrot, froze like she'd been caught stealing it. Mom said, "Too fast. We thought you were fine." "You're always fine. You said the department would cover it." I said most of it. Nate leaned back. "It's not like your thing was urgent, right? Mine's a once-in-a-lifetime event." I stared at his watch. It stared back. My knee throbbed under the table, quiet, steady. Same rhythm as the beeps on the engine when we back into the bay. I swallowed and said nothing. "Not yet. I'm telling this the way we tell it when we finally say it out loud, blunt and casual, no metaphors, because that's the only way it stays honest. I grew up in a house where family first meant family first if you're Nate. He was the golden boy early. Soccer trophies. Student government. Prom king. He gave speeches like he was running for something. Mom loved repeating them later like scripture. Dad called him a natural. When I made a fire science class honor roll, he said, "Good. Practical." I got my first job at 15 delivering pizza on a bike with crooked handlebars. At 17, I was mopping floors at the gym before school. I liked knowing I paid for my own sneakers. It felt clean. Money at our table was either a lecture or a brag. "We're not poor," Dad would say. "We're careful." Careful meant I drove the old sedan with the missing hubcap and Nate got the new model because his schedule is full and we can't have him stranded. Careful meant I took community college and night classes for my EMT, then paramedic, then academy, and Nate got out-of-state tuition because networking matters. After graduating the academy, I moved into a small apartment near the station. The building smells like dust and coffee. It's perfect. I kept a second job doing overtime details because the department's schedule runs you hard and then gives you big slabs of time to fill with sleep or second income. I chose income. My plan was simple: build an emergency fund, pay my truck, and maybe someday a down payment. No vacations. No design or anything. I bought good boots. Good boots can save your back. Nate's expenses grew like mold. "Can you swing me a little this month?" he'd text. "I'll pay you back Friday." Friday never came. Then it wasn't a little. It was my car registration, my phone, the deposit on the ring, just temporarily. He called them bridges. He never landed. Mom kept score for him. He's under pressure at work. He'll make partner. He worked in marketing, which, best I could tell, meant standing near billboards and saying synergy into his phone. His bosses were always criminally jealous. I didn't complain. I kept my head down. I know what emergencies look like. A twisted family budget isn't a 4 alarm. It's a slow leak. You mop and move on. 3 months ago, we got the call at 2 a.m. residential, possible entrapment. We rolled. Two-story wood frame, smoke out the windows, that brown gray that tells you it's in the walls. We took the stairs. Halfway up, crunch. The landing dropped under me. I twisted, pushed the Proby backward to the railing, and took the hit in my left knee. It sounded like a wet snap in my head. We still got the kid out. He had soot in his eyebrows. He cried and asked if his dog made it. The dog did. In the ambulance, adrenaline clocked out and pain clocked in. It was surgical. Clean tear. Good prognosis, the ortho said, but there was a gap between what insurance covered and what the specialist charged. My captain said, "We'll fight the claim, but it'll take time." Time I didn't have if I wanted the best repair and a full return to duty. I'd saved for a lot of things. I hadn't saved for a rare surgeon who does the repair our fitness standard likes. The invoice was ugly. 5 digits that start with a 3 you want to pretend starts with an 8, because 8s feel like snowmen and 3s feel like cliffs. Mom called that night. "What do you need?" she asked, voice syrupy. "Say it." "I need a bridge," I said, trying not to joke. "Short term. I'll repay. I already set up a separate account." "We are family," she said. "We don't do ledgers." I emailed them the invoice, the date, the contact. I also sent screenshots of what the department covered and the difference, because I know how Dad loves paperwork. Dad replied with a thumbs-up reaction. Mom texted, "Handled." I scheduled the surgery. I put half down from my savings, the piece I could absorb. I planned to pay the other half with help and then refill the account with overtime once cleared. I visualized ladders. Strength. My knee line getting clean on the MRI. You learn to visualize when you run into smoke. If you don't see it finished, you won't finish it. A week before the final payment, Mom called about dinner. Family night. Everyone. She sounded chirpy. I said yes because I believed the thing she said. Handled. The dining room that night had the same print of the sailboat it's always had. Our family is not a boat family. We are a take photos near boats family. We ate. We smiled. I asked my question. They gave me their answer. "You used the money for the venue?" I repeated. "It's the deposit," Mom said quickly. "And the reception. And the bar. They gave us a discount for paying all at once." It was smart. Smart for who? I asked. "Don't be dramatic," Dad said. "You're covered." "I'm not," I said. "I sent you the difference." "The specialist. People heal all the time without the fancy one," Mom said. "You're strong. You'll bounce back." Nate laughed, not unkind exactly, but from that place where he thinks the world is a soft trampoline he can fall onto. "Bro, it's a knee. No offense. My wedding is in 8 weeks. We can't move it. The venue's booked through next year." "You moved my surgery," I said. Silence. A thick one. Forks paused. My aunt coughed. Mom's smile came back like a mask. "We'll figure something out later," she said. "Right now, we're celebrating." I looked at the phone on the table. I had screenshots, emails, dates. I had the text where Mom wrote, "Handled." I didn't open anything. I sat with the heat in my chest until it cooled. Then I cut a piece of chicken and chewed it like gum. I felt old and very young at the same time. I've been in rooms where the ceiling pops and the floor goes soft. People ask how you know the moment everything changes. You don't know it. You feel it drop under your boot and you make a choice. That night, I made one. I just didn't say it out loud yet. I saw this playbook before. The laughing off, the minimizing, the later. It's the same rhythm families use when they've decided who counts and who funds it. I recognize the tone from every long post I've read where the broke one is only broke because they're underwriting everyone else's show. 2 days later, Mom started a group chat called Wedding Ops. She added me, Dad, Nate, his fiancée, 3 aunts, and a cousin who once stole my rain jacket. The first message was a seating chart photo. "Henry at table 11? I typed. Mom replied, "It's quieter back there. You don't like crowds." Nate added, "Plus the groomsmen are table 2. We're doing tiers. It's a vibe." I typed, "Tier for the guy who paid your bar." No one responded. At 3 a.m., awake because pain medication made my brain itch, I scrolled my files. I built a little folder labeled "So I Remember." Screenshots of Mom's handled. The invoice. Dad's to good news, toast still in my head like a bad ringtone. I added a photo of my brace. I added the calendar blocks I put on for PT. The next week, the hospital called. "Hi, Henry. We still haven't received the second payment. Are you moving the date?" "No," I said. "I'm not moving it." I wired the balance from my savings and then drained the backup savings. It left me with a number I didn't like, a number that made my chest tight. I called my bank and moved my emergency fund into a new account the family didn't know about. I turned off Zelle. I turned on my spine. Then I texted Mom and Dad. "We need to talk about reimbursement." Mom wrote, "We don't do ledgers." Again, as if copy-paste could make it doctrine. I replied with a screenshot of her handled and wrote, "We do when you said handled and used it for something else." Dad called. "Don't send your mother screenshots," he said, voice gravelly. "It's disrespectful. Taking surgery money is not." I asked. "It's complicated." "It's actually simple," I said. He launched into a speech about big families and priorities. I listened until I felt the snap in me. It sounded like the landing in that house. Clean. Final. "Okay," I said. "I'm done funding other people's big days. I'm done being the quiet one that makes your math work." "Henry, don't make this ugly," he said. "We're trying to celebrate." "Then celebrate with your money," I said, and I hung up. I wrote a message in Wedding Ops. "Hi all. Quick note. I can't subsidize the wedding. Effective today. I won't be contributing to any wedding expenses. I won't cover last-minute bridges. I won't be available for emergency cash apps. Also, I'll be in the front row at the ceremony only if Mom and Dad repay the surgery funds by Friday. If not, I'll attend the ceremony from the back and leave after the vows. Boundaries aren't punishment. They're a brace. Mine's titanium." I attached the invoice, the date, the transfer receipt, and Mom's handled. Then I set the chat to mute. Within a minute, the typing dots danced. "Mom, you are humiliating me." "Dad, this is not the place." "Aunt, we can talk about this after the wedding." "Nate, dude, you're choosing money over family." "Me, I'm choosing me's over cake." "Nate, it's 50 grand, not a life." "Me, it's my career on a knee that works." "It is a life." "Mom, we'll figure something out. Stop threatening to sit in the back." "Me, it's not a threat. It's a boundary with a due date." Silence. Then another bubble. "Nate's fiancé. We already told the venue the money came. We can't get it back." "Me, cool. Then you can't get me in the front." Mom called. I let it ring. She left a voicemail saying I'd embarrassed the family. It sounded like she'd practiced the line in the mirror. Friday came. No transfer. "No, we're sorry." Just a photo in the chat of a champagne tasting with the caption, "Finalizing bubbles." I bought a new suit with my own card and kept the tags in the pocket like a little private joke. I knew exactly where I'd be sitting. I also booked a cheap motel near the venue because I didn't want to drive home on a knee that still barked when I asked it to pivot. The wedding day arrived. I showed up alone. People hugged me like normal. I smiled. During the family photos, the coordinator looked at her clipboard and said, "Parents, siblings, front." I stood back and shook my head. "I'm good," I said. "I'll take one with the cousins." Mom's eyes cut to me, then to my empty space in the front. Nate frowned like a kid who can't find his toy where it used to be. At the ceremony, I found my seat at table 11 and then moved to a chair in the very last row for the vows. I put weight evenly on both legs. When the ushers asked me to move up, I said, "Family paid for the front row." I didn't. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. "Don't do this." I typed 3 words, then repay it. He didn't. The officiant started. People sniffled at the right parts. I watched the leaves move behind the arch like a slow wave and felt my anger settle under a layer of calm I recognized from calls where the only way through is exactness. The moment felt less like drama and more like math. Inputs. Outputs. You take something from column A, you subtract column A. Simple. Exactly the kind of line in the sand I'd seen others draw when the room finally stopped pretending. Receptions are built for forgetting. Dim lights. Loud music. Sugary drinks. People say things like, "It's love," and no one is supposed to mention invoices. I lasted through the first dance, 2 hors d'oeuvres, and 3 relatives telling me I looked strong. Then Mom cornered me near the dessert table. "You've made a spectacle," she hissed. "You did when you spent my surgery money," I said, keeping my voice low. She smiled for a guest who walked by. "Lower your voice." I didn't raise it. "Repay what you used, and I'll move up a row, sure. Until then, my seat is perfect." Dad joined, jaw tight. "Son, we're not doing the son voice," I said. "We're doing the you took money voice." Nate slid in. He smelled like cologne and impatience. "Bro, you could have called me. I would have explained." "You knew," I said. "You watched them do it. You're the one wearing the venue on your wrist." "It's just money," he said. "No," I said. "It's a promise." He rolled his eyes. "You're being dramatic." "Cool," I said. "Watch me be consistent too." I stepped away before the part of me that wants to say everything said everything. I went outside and leaned against a pillar. My knee hummed. I thought about the kid in the smoke, his small hand in mine. I thought about the probie who still texts me workout videos and asks if he's doing deadlifts right. I thought about the men and women who show up to my door at 2 a.m. when the bell rings, and we become one machine. I don't owe anyone a show. I owe myself a standard. I check my messages. One from my captain, how's the leg? One from my PT, Monday at 10. Remember to hydrate. One from an unknown number. Hi, I'm Aunt Carol's friend. I'm an attorney. If you need help setting boundaries with family around money, call me. I laughed. Then I saved the number. When the bouquet toss happened, I walked to my motel. My phone lit up with a new group chat, just the cousins. We saw where you sat, one wrote. We're proud of you, another said. I told Aunt Carol last year I'm not paying for her emergency Europe trip, another added. Little dominoes, tipping. I slept like a person who just came home from a long call. Heavy, dreamless. The next morning, there were texts from Mom. Return the spare house key, she wrote. If you're going to be petty. Then, 2 minutes later, I didn't mean that. Call me. Then, 10 minutes later, your brother is hurt. You ruined his night. Then, an hour later, we need to talk numbers. There it was. Numbers. I sent a simple message. Great. $31,800. Wire or cashier's check only. Due Friday. After that, 5% monthly late fee. We do ledgers now. She replied, we can do $5,000 now. Pay $5,000 now and still owe $26,800 by Friday. I wrote. Plus fees. Dad called. You're not a bank, he said. You're not either, I said. But you've been acting like one with my account. He hung up. That week, I got quiet. Silence is my best tool when people expect noise. I worked on my PT, logged my reps, iced at set times, slept. At the station, the guys had heard a version of the story because firefighters spread news like butter, evenly, into everything. They didn't push. They brought me coffee and told bad jokes. Thursday, Mom texted, we'll repay half now, half next month. Wire the half today, I wrote. If the second half doesn't arrive by the end of next month, late fee applies. An hour later, a wire came through, $15,900. The transfer description said gift. I smiled even though my chest tightened. I screenshotted it and added it to the So I Remember folder. Then I texted, received. Balance due, $15,900 by the 30th. Mom replied, we're not comfortable with your tone. I typed back, I'm not comfortable with a torn ACL. I blocked the chat for 24 hours. I told my therapist, new, recommended by a guy at the station, that the hardest part wasn't the money. It was the shock that they could do it and then smile about bread or centerpieces. She nodded. You're naming it, she said. You can't set a boundary around something you won't name. At the end of the month, the second wire came in, the description now blank. No gift, just numbers. It hit my account at 4:12 p.m. I was mid-ice bath. I laughed and swore and laughed again. Later that night, Nate called. He didn't open with, hey, you made Mom cry, he said. Mom made choices, I said. Crying is one of the consequences, I guess. Paying is another. You didn't have to make it public. You didn't have to make my surgery money a bar tab. He got quiet. We couldn't lose the venue, he said, smaller. Then you should have saved, I said. Like people do when they plan things. Are we done? He asked, sounding like a little boy who wants to know if his time out is over. No, I said, we're starting. New rules. What rules? He asked. I'm not your bridge, I said. No more spot me this or float me that. I'm not your emergency plan. If you can't afford it, you can't have it. So if my car breaks down, you call a tow, you figure it out, or you sell the watch. He exhaled. You used to be nice, he said. I'm still nice, I said. I'm just not available. 2 weeks later, a cousin told me there was a blow-up at Sunday dinner. Mom and Dad fought about budgets in front of Aunt Carol and Uncle Steve. Topic: where did the money go? Dad said wedding. Mom said family obligations. Aunt Carol said, not to Henry. People went home early. Apparently, Nate has a credit card bill that looks like a venue on paper. I didn't celebrate. I cooked chili and watched a show and answered my captain's text with a photo of me doing careful squats with a resistance band. At check-in, my PT grinned. You're ahead, she said. You'll pass the step test early if you keep this up. I kept it up. I added a run walk on the treadmill. I stopped bracing when I changed lanes on the freeway. I took the tags out of the suit and wore it to a co-worker's baby shower because I wanted to write new memories on the fabric. Mom tried small talk after the second wire. We miss you, she wrote. I'm around, I replied. We can grab coffee. Public place. 1 hour. No money talk unless it's an apology with a number. She sent a thumbs up emoji. It looked strange on her. When we met, She looked smaller. Or maybe I was taller. She opened with the usual family history monologue, then drifted into a line that hit me. We always thought you didn't need anything. I did, I said. I needed parents who didn't take from me because I'm quiet. She bit her lip. You make everything sound so simple, she said. It is, I said. Don't take what isn't yours. Don't promise what you won't pay. Don't call me selfish when I stop letting you. We drank our coffee. We didn't hug. That felt honest. In the weeks after, people started coming to me quietly. A cousin. I told Aunt Carol no. An aunt. We're putting a lock on the account. Even Dad. In a short text. I was wrong. That one I screenshotted, too. Not to gloat. To remember that even stubborn men can move an inch. The best piece? At a shift change, the probie I'd pulled backward on the stairs shook my hand in front of everyone. I signed up for another year, he said. Thanks for having my back. My knee felt light. My chest did too. This is what the other stories always get right. Once the boundary lands, the room rearranges. People scream. People sulk. Some people grow. And the person who said it starts breathing like they forgot they knew how. I'm not going to pretend this is a revenge story. It's not. It's a maintenance story. I paid for the surgery. I got my money back. I tightened every valve that needed tightening. Now, when my phone buzzes and it's a hey, quick question, I don't flinch. I let it ring. If I pick up, I say, send it by text. If the text is a request for money, I reply, no, I don't explain. Explanations invite negotiation. A boundary doesn't negotiate, it holds. The moral? I'm not an ATM with an emotional pin. I'm a person with a body that lets me run into other people's burning houses. My body needs care. My future needs cash in my own accounts, not on someone else's dance floor. To make it simple for the people who like simple, if you take my oxygen mask off at altitude so your champagne glass looks better in photos, we will not be on the same flight again. Do I love them? Yeah. Love doesn't mean loan. Love doesn't mean lie. When mom texts me now, she sticks to how's your knee? And I answer, stronger. Thanks. When dad calls, he keeps it short. Weather. Baseball. He apologized once. Said, I got swept up. I said, I know. He said, you're a good man. I let that one land. Nate sent a long message last week. It said, we're setting a budget. It said, we're selling the watch. It also said, can you? And then backspaced. I watched the dots. Then nothing came. A minute later, never mind. We got it. I sat in my truck and smiled for a long time at nothing. At the station, my captain cleared me for full duty. We did a light drill, and it felt like being allowed to breathe underwater again. On the way back, the probie asked me what I learned through all this. I said, you don't run into a collapse for people who keep lighting matches in your living room. I used to think family meant I had to set myself on fire to keep everyone warm. Now I bring a fire extinguisher and a calendar. Warmth is earned. Time is precious. Money is a tool, not a leash. If you're reading this and you feel that same slow leak, here's your line you can borrow. I'm not available for that. Say it once. Say it again. Put dates on it. Put numbers on it. Watch the room rearrange. At the next family dinner, I put my hand on my knee and it didn't hurt. Someone asked about the wedding. I said the venue was lovely. Nate looked at me for a second longer than usual. Then he said, quietly, thanks for showing me how to do this. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The boundary had done the talking. I paid my bill. I kept my job. I kept my dignity. I'm not the ATM. I'm Henry. And I'm done letting anyone else spend me. That's the whole thing. Short sentences. Clear lines. No metaphors I can't explain to a rookie at 3 a.m. It's the voice I learned to use from all the people who've told their story and stopped apologizing for it.